Right, so today we're talking about distortion with magic temperament.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey.
So why do we use distortion, you think?
Make a lovely noise to the
It
neighbours.
makes a lovely noise for everybody, doesn't it, George?
Yeah, disturb the neighbours.
But another thing
Basically
is
what you
that
can
it
do.
gives you improved expression. So you can... So as you press the key differently, you get a different sound coming out. And also, it works for improved or at least different harmony. So, which is mostly what we're going to be talking about today. So every different chord you play is a different sound. So some people want to avoid this. Some people say, "Oh, this distortion, it sounds good with one note, but how do we separate out the notes to get them differently?" And you can do that with Zenad sub effects. This is all Zenad sub effects, isn't it, George? Not Guitar X. There's no Guitar X this time. Guitar X does do distortion very well, but I've got this all programmed in Zen.
And some effects.
Yes. So with Zen, you can set it so that you have a wave shaper. It uses a wave shaper, George, and it only applies to the one oscillator before they get mixed together. So then you can have a distorted sound and it doesn't interfere. But that's boring because you don't get the expression and you don't get the sounds of the harmony overlapping. That's it. And this is fairly heavy distortion, of course. We've got this set up to emphasize the effects. So this is using 2 wave shapers in Zenad sub effects.
Look at the camera.
Yes, George, and the point of a wave shaper is it's a simple mathematical function. So we split the sound up into numbers because this is digital synthesis, and every number that comes in maps to a different number going out. And that changes the sound. So the simplest property of this is if you have a periodic sound going in, you get a periodic sound coming out. So that your note is always the same pitch. If you have a harmonic timbre, which means it's mathematically it is a periodic waveform, it's still a harmonic timbre on the other side. When you play a chord, if it's close to a harmonic timbre, then it'll still be close to a harmonic timbre coming out, unless it's very aggressive distortion. And this is what we're going to investigate today. Go on, George. That's good, isn't it? So, do you want to put the tuning up, George? Come on, George. Can you put the tuning on the heads-up display?
Okay.
That's it.
This.
Yes, put it up. So, this is the tuning we're using. This is the Tenny something or other, Tenny Euclidean optimal for magic temperament in the 11 limit. And you'll note that it has impure octaves, so even the octaves are slightly impure. This purity of the distorted sound depends on the simplicity of the ratio and the amount of mistuning. So the 3-1 is pretty good, isn't it? Or 3-2. 5-4 is fairly good. So let's, yeah. So the 5 is not as well tuned as other intervals. Although it's the generator, so that's still got a fairly dirty sound, but it's okay. We can get a full chord out of that. We can also get a 7 if we go, is it? The 7, yeah, the 7 is quite well tuned, but it's getting fairly complex. That one, there we go. It was wrong, was it? That is a 7. No, it can't be that. Hang on. That's it. No, the mapping doesn't tell you anything at this point. So that is the 7. And we can also get an 11. So the 11 is quite right. You can come and sit down now, George. The 11/8 is quite distorted and quite complex. So the thing is, 11, it says here it's 3 cents out. In fact, because the 2 is sharp, it comes out a bit less than that, but it's still more than 3 cents out. But the worst interval is actually the 5, which is also well tuned. So,
That's ugly.
is it? What about?
Oh!
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do. That's right. So we'll go through the different intervals we have then.
Twinkle, twinkle.
Do you want to go on? Do Twinkle Twinkle if
Okay.
you want to do Twinkle Twinkle. So you've transposed it to Lydian there, haven't you? That. There we go.
I had to overlap with pink and green.
Yeah, that's it. That's the right way to play it, George. But you started it in Lydian mode, didn't you?
Lydian.
Yes, George. That's instead of.
But
I think.
Ah.
Oh, this should do.
Right.
Right. So we'll go for some height. So that's our triad, isn't it? So you have a major third. Okay, I'm just demonstrating your major third, minor third, perfect fifth in there. If we separate these out more, most of them should get better. So let's move this down.
Okay.
So that's a George. That's a 3/1. Not that kind of down, George. That's a 3/5/2. There's the octave. And so the 7, which so we go to, this is, that is definitely 7, isn't it? And if that drops down an octave, yeah, that's a bit better. And another octave, it should be even better because the 7, oh no, it does balance. Another thing we can do, so hear this then, George. So that's a major triad, that's a minor triad, and that's a sub-minor triad. You hear those? So which are best? 1, 2 or 3?
2.
2, that's the best one, is it?
Yeah.
Alright.
Because it makes more noise.
It makes more noise. Why does it make more noise?
What?
Because, so the approximations of these chords, this is a 4, 5, 6. This is 10, 12, 15. This is 6, 7, 9. So normally, the 4, 5, 6 is obviously the supreme triad, the 5 limit octave and all of that. But usually the minor triad, the 5 limit minor triad, will sound purer. Get your foot off the sustain pedal, George. Than the 6, 7, 9. But because of the distortion is emphasizing an overtone pattern. So this is a 15-minute chord. This is a 9-minute chord. Because undertones don't count once you distort it. So that's a standard feature of distortion. It emphasizes your overtonal chords, or it makes the overtonal chords sound purer. So do you want to try pressing lots of notes? So hold the pedal down then, George.
Okay.
And let's go for lots and lots of notes, shall we?
Okay.
I think we've demonstrated the point now, George. So,
The pedal is under the actual lumitone.
yes.
That lovely sound.
Yes, okay, so we can let it go now. Right, so what are we getting there, George? We're getting noise, aren't we?
Definitely.
Yes. So when you play lots of unrelated pitches all together,
It makes a terrific noise.
makes a terrific noise, but it is largely unpitched because the if there's no if it isn't close to a harmonic series to start with, the distortion will add different frequencies to the output sound, and you end up with a broadband noise.
Broadband.
Broadband, yes,
Sky
George.
broadband.
No, not Sky Broadband. We're not advertising, George.
Okay.
You get a broadband noise because a lot of different pitches come out, can't go in, and the distortion adds different pitches out. So the most coherent sounds are single pitches, another headband, or simple intervals, or simple chords even. I'm sure they will, George. I'm sure everybody's going to love this. So, what else do we want to say about distortion, George? And magic temperament. Should we show them the mapping of magic temperament? We've got that
That's
here.
on the floor.
Yes, you can get it onto the heads-up display, can't you? Yes, George. So, magic temperament gives you lots of 5-limit harmony. So these everywhere. This is quite good at generating an entire chord by itself, but you can fill that in. There are fewer 7 or 11s in there. That's what we see from that, isn't it, George? Okay, that can go down now. George, I don't want to see that, George. So we can do our. I think we've done this in the last video anyway. We can do our thing, can't we? Yes, we will keep on going to the end of the video, George. So that's your standard jazz progression, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because the roots tend to get emphasised, that's it. It's in that book, isn't it? There we go. So the right-hand part on its own is good enough. Yeah, well, that doesn't show the harmony, does it, George?
No.
Or even stuff like this. What are we doing?
Okay.
That's okay, isn't it?
Yep.
What's that doing?
That's
So
noise.
let's try again, shall we, George? So there you go. That's an introduction to distortion as it applies to magic temperament. Are there any questions?
I have one.
What's your question?
Do you ever watch till the end of our videos?
I don't think anybody does, George. Come on. So, well, do you want to play anything, George?
Okay.
As everybody's gone anyway, haven't they?
Yeah.
No, George.